Welcome to New Realities. My name is Alan Steinfeld, and on this program I like to investigate the latest in New Thought, the investigation of consciousness and who we are as evolving beings. I also do this program in order to find out for myself my own personal evolution. So tonight's guest is Dr. John Demartini, and I'll be kind of playing back with this global evolution and my own personal evolution. Dr. Demartini is an inspirational thinker. He's a best-selling author. He was seen in The Secret, and I'm very happy that he's here.
Thank you, Alan.
Thanks, John. Your talk, I saw John's talk last night, and it was, it stimulated so many ideas from metaphysics to practicality of abundance. And one thing you said is the idea of gratitude. To have gratitude for what we have. Can you go into that just a little more?
Well, I like to think of gratitude as the key that opens up the gateway of the human heart. And inside the human heart is an amazing inspiration, a tremendous amount of love, and genius is born from it. And so gratitude is the cornerstone, the foundation upon an inspired life and a life that's fulfilling. And if we start each day that way and end each day with gratitude, our day unfolds on levels that we may have not previously experienced.
Some people say, though, this idea of gratitude, I mean, it's about, let me see if I get this thought. The gratitude is unnecessary because we are the ones that created that reality. So, this whole idea about creating your reality and not being subservient to a reality that's created to us. So if we say we have gratitude, then it's like we're not then responsible for the thing that we created.
Well, I love that. That's a great perspective. I do think that we do create our reality because it's not what happens to us. It is our perception of it, and we are accountable for our perceptions and our actions. But we can still be grateful for even ourselves, for the movie that we've created in our life. And my experience is that when we have our heart open with gratitude, our greatest potential is unveiled. So whether we're grateful for the illusion that we've interacted with somebody else and our dialogue interaction, that dialogue is something to be grateful for. And I tend to think that there's wisdom in also appreciating what role that people play in our life. I found that when I sit down and think of the people in my life from the time I was born till now, and I'm grateful for their contribution to my life, because the truth is they have contributed to my life. I find that I have more inspiration in my life. I mean, I look back, my mother told me when I was 4, she was putting me to sleep, she said, make sure you count your blessings. Because those that are grateful for what they experience in life, even though we've created them, grateful to ourselves, we have more to be grateful for. And so I'm a firm believer in gratitude to ourselves, the people we reflect through, the universe itself, because we are the universe. Our reality is our individual universe, but at the same time, without something outside our form, we don't have that experience. So there's a combination of self and other in there.
There is, and I mean, I understand what you're saying. How much of this reality is a projection of our minds and an unfoldment of spirit, and how much are we here to embrace the unknown? It's like, it's a dance between who we are and what we've created, and then how much to bring in that we don't know. Do you know what I'm asking?
I think so.
Okay.
So, well, there's, the more we know, the more we expand our sphere of influence and awareness. But at the same time, there's always a periphery, a circumference, you might say, that continues to grow. So there's always a mystery and an unknown.
Oh, right. The mystery is what you talked about last night.
Yeah, last night. So I honor the mystery because I do believe that there are laws that govern the universe. There's apparent laws. And I do believe that we can come to know and understand them and utilize them to our greatest advantage, and make them history instead of mysteries. And when we do, we tend to bring order to our lives and function from a higher awareness. But I also believe and honor that the mystery is part of the existence of this universe, and that's what allows us to have an urge and a yearning to continue to grow. Without the mystery, it's all history. And so I think it's wise to have both. And I think that's our yearning. I think that every human being deep inside has a desire to expand into the mystery in all areas of their life, spiritually, mentally, career, financial, family, social, physical, all areas.
So we expand into the mystery by acknowledging our feelings, opening our hearts, and seeing what else is coming to us. Would you?
Well, I always say that each individual has a hierarchy of values. And based on what's highest in their value, that's where they tend to bring order to their life. And whatever's lower in their values is where their chaos
Yeah,
is.
go through that, because that's a very major concept that you have and very revealing. So just say that again so I really get it.
All right. As we walk through life,
Yes.
we are filtering our reality in our sensory world. We could call it our attention is filtered by our values.
Okay.
And our motor functions, our actions and intentions are also filtered that way. In other words, we will act on things according to our values. We're wanting to fulfill our values. Our values are really the voids we have that we're wanting to fulfill. In fact,
The emptiness.
The emptiness.
Yeah.
Fulfillment means to fill the mind of
Yeah.
what is perceiving something is missing.
Right. Okay.
And that's the mystery.
Yeah.
So in the mind, we're attempting to fulfill those questions that we don't understand, those
Right.
things that we see as chaotic that really have order, but we haven't discovered the order in.
Right.
So those values determine how we see the world and act upon the world. Our sensory and motor functions are determined by them. So as we walk through life, we will see things that we feel will support those values, and we'll tend to overlook things that we think will challenge them.
We
And they
don't
determine-
even see them as far as our perception.
We'll filter them out.
We'll filter out. The
That's why
things
no two people have the same reality, because they are filtering their reality according to these value systems, and they're like fingerprints and unique.
So the things I don't value, I won't see in my reality. Is that
Well,
what you're saying?
if we see them, if they challenge our values, we may react, but we'll try to avoid the things that challenge our values, and we'll tend to seek the things that support our values.
Okay.
Wisdom is embracing both, because it's been shown that biologically we grow best and most powerfully at the border of support and challenge, the border of order and chaos, if you will.
Okay.
And so the very things that challenge our lives, we say we don't want to deal with them, but at the same time, when we look back in our lives, they're the ones that made us grow.
Right.
So
right.
wisdom is embracing both sides of life.
Okay.
I like to think of life as coming at us as a series of magnets. And a magnet always has both sides, positive and negative.
Right.
And when we can embrace the full magnet, not just try to get one side of the magnet, which is futile and is not going to happen, we have magnetism to attract into our lives our innermost dominant thought.
So how do we start, everyone has a value system, so how do we start to train ourselves to notice the things that we're not valuing that will challenge us, because it comes up anyway in our lives?
Well, we don't have to worry about that, because that's there.
Yeah, but
You know, that there's never a concern about having the challenges. Scientific American a number of years ago wrote a great article on the conservation of difficulty in everybody's life. That no matter what you do, you don't have to worry about it. There'll always be something next to have a challenge by and be difficult.
Yeah.
And it showed that it's essential. Without it, we don't have drive, we don't have goals. We must have the next challenge. And life is not about really being easier, in my opinion. It's about tackling greater levels of difficulties and challenges and greater levels of perceived chaos and discovering the hidden orders at it and bring it to order in our minds so we can tackle even greater levels. And that's the growth process.
Yeah, that's great. It's like the stress of gravity keeps our bones strong and our body solid.
I always say that as Norman Vincent Peale said years ago, if you ever get up in the morning and you don't have a problem, get on your hands and knees and pray for one because you died. you have to have something to be working on, and I think the purpose of marriage is to keep one always there.
Really?
Keep you challenged, because you typically attract into your relationship part of the disowned parts, the things that challenge your values that you tend to want to avoid, are what you keep attracting in the relationship to make sure you are whole.
But what about when that relationship, I know we're switching topics a little, it gets too annoying, too tense? Is there a time where it's like, okay, we're complete because it's just...
Well, there's what is called a tolerance zone.
Yeah.
When you have more similarities and differences, you become infatuated with each other. When you have more differences and similarities, you resent each other. When you have a balance of similarities and differences, support and challenge, you have love for each other. Right. So, if you perceive, because of your own perception, not because of them, but because of your own perception, more challenges and support, you'll tend to withdraw. And if it gets more than you can handle and see the hidden order to, you'll tend to want to say, this is enough, I've done enough. And you want to go find something that's a little bit more assimilative instead of accommodative. So I say that wisdom is embracing both sides and tackling the challenges and building the relationship from that perspective. But there's nothing in the universe that says, I've had enough, I'm ready to go on. There's no rules in the universe saying you have to be stuck in that. But at the same time, you are not going to avoid anything, because anything that's challenging you is your own stuff, and you're going to just go out and re-find it somewhere else and learn to master the loving of it and appreciation of it anywhere. So.
No, that's actually helpful. So the hidden order of reality is what each person is here to unfold and discover for themselves.
Well, there's a language that's been out since the physicist Bohm has discussed it, called implicit order and explicit order.
Right.
And I like to put those in a different perspective. I like to think of the explicit order as anything that supports our values that we like, because it kind of supports our reality, and everything is in order according to the reality. Right. And the explicit disorder is the thing that challenges us. And then there's an implicit order. And that's an order that we don't see, that doesn't necessarily just support our values, but supports and challenges our values. That is a higher order to make sure that we grow at our maximum potential.
You say that sort of spirit is sort of here to give us? Or
well, some people have called spirit through the ages. Some people called it the grand organized design, or God. Some people have given it the dyslexic dog phenomenon.
Okay.
Whatever the way you want to describe it. The quantum field.
So then talk more about then how do we meet that, and how do we, well, you sort of said it, we grow from those challenges and the exploration of what's coming to us.
Well, I always say that the quality of our life is based on the quality of the questions we ask. And if we ask wise questions, we have wisdom.
How do we get to ask wise questions?
Well, the wise question is anything that equilibrates the mind and brings balance to perception. So let's say you're walking down the street and you see this beautiful woman.
Yes.
And you're infatuated.
Yes.
And you're making an assumption based on your values that there's way more positives than negatives.
About this woman.
About this woman.
Yeah.
In actuality, there's a balance. They have positives, negatives, supportive and challenges, nice things, kind things, cruel things. There's all kinds of things. Right. But we have the assumption that there's going to be more positive, negatives, so we're infatuated. We put them on a pedestal, and we tend to want to sacrifice our energies to be with them.
Yes.
Okay. There's the illusion of that is that infatuation then consumes space and time in our mind and runs us.
Yes.
And we start to stop doing the things that are meaningful to us just to be with that.
Right.
And we end up then resenting that because we're sacrificing what's important to us.
Yes.
And then we discover them being on the pedestal is not true, and we put them in a pit because then they didn't match our fantasy.
Right.
And then we end up resenting them, and then we see the negatives without the positives.
Yes.
And then they consume us with resentment. Right. And then they're running our lives again.
Yes.
And it's our perceptions. Wisdom is seeing, when you meet somebody, knowing full well that they have a hierarchy of values, they are supporting and challenging us. They're going to have both sides. They're a magnet. They're worthy of love. They're not worth putting on pedestals or pits. They're human beings. They're whole.
And they have both their good and bad sides. And
Well, we'll label them that way, but they're just traits that support or challenge our values that we label good and bad.
Yes.
So if we honor them and see that they're whole and realize that, instead of projecting labels onto them and having them consume our lives by infatuation or resentment, it's open our heart to them and realize that they're human beings, and they're giving us an opportunity to discover what we haven't loved yet in our own life, and now giving us an opportunity to master the love of that part of ourselves. So we appreciate them that way. They're a teacher to us.
Do we ever reach a level of mastery where we are, I mean, you say life is always challenged, but there are probably some masters that have reached the level of just total open beingness?
Well, I used to think that until I met many of these.
Okay.
And I'd rather not promote that, because I think that sets people up for a fantasy for their own lives and a self-depreciation in comparison. Because all the people that I've met, and I got to meet some interesting gurus and things, when you get them one-on-one and chat with them, they got their own stuff.
Yeah, okay.
So I always say that we live in an infinite universe, and we're living in this little fledgling little place called Earth. And the Earth, if you go to the sun and you stand on the sun, 93 million miles away, and you look at the Earth and you see an enlightened person on there, all they're really doing is spinning around. They really don't have a whole lot of freedom. They're just spinning around on a planet.
Right.
And from the sun, it kind of, when they hear somebody saying I'm enlightened, the sun just kind of laughs and goes, And then from the center of the galaxy, looking at the sun, which is not even visible, 2/3 of the way out the Milky Way arm, the planet's non-visible.
Right.
So somebody who thinks I'm all enlightened on the planet is really as a speck. So I think it's wiser to humble ourselves to the vaster picture. Keep ourselves learning the questions and continue to grow. And don't think of ourselves as really enlightened, but having moments of enlightenment and living in further questions so they can keep exploring.
But from that perspective, there's still something about consciousness which is non-local, and maybe it's an illusion, but when people, and I've had moments where expanded consciousness, you are the universe, or you feel that. Don't you think there's something about consciousness that
Well, you're still not the universe. What you are is you're now one with what you have been aware of the universe. We'll call it the observable universe. Because if you don't even know what's out there, you're not going to be one with it in your mind because you haven't encompassed it in your reality.
But aren't there moments of transcendence where, you know, you're just one with everything in the sense? You're just at peace?
Well, you have a moment of grace or peace, if you want to call it that, but I still think that that's my observation doing meditation now for 34 years is that, and let me kind of go off on this divergence here. I had a Buddhist who came to my office who specializes as an architect in sacred geometry. And he came into my office and he saw this room filled with writings that I'd done because I'd written thousands and thousands of pages. And he said, "Why are you writing so much? Why are you studying so much?" And he says, "Because every time I go and I discover another magnificence in the universe, it brings a gratitude to me, and I'm appreciative of the order of life. And it makes me then, when I go into meditation in this state of appreciation, poised, present, clear mind. And my meditations are clear because when you go into meditation, it's a lot of cloud until you have that centered state. Well, that centered state is all the brain noise from not seeing the order in the universe. So what happens is I gathered all this data to try to see the order in the universe, and as I do, I become more grateful and I have incredible meditations. But the meditations are still to the degree of what my awareness was. And my awareness is still very finite compared to the universe. So what the ancients considered the universe was once the universe is now just a galaxy. And so our awareness continues to expand. So I would rather humble myself to continue to grow and never think that I'm done. I always say, as long as you're green, you're growing. As soon as you ripen, you rot.
Well, yeah, and I'm not saying I'm there because I personally have stuff
Well, every person who has said that they do that, when I go into their mind and ask them questions, it wasn't the whole universe. It was what their awareness was.
And they have moments, and we all have flashes of something greater than this being, but this limited personality. I mean, the place where I'm personally at now, because I like to understand how to get some, I'm trying to accomplish this project that does, I mean, I'm writing this book that just, I have insights and things I'm writing down, but I just can't sit down and do it. I just can't, I don't know, I want to do it, and yet I'm blocking myself from achieving the goal that I want to achieve.
Well, everybody acts and senses according to their values. So right now, if there's other things that are vying for your attention, they're higher on your values at that moment than it is to write the book. So you have a number of ways of handling that. You can either link writing the book on how it will help you fulfill these things that are more meaningful to you, that you keep going to. Or you can shift your values and stack up the benefits of writing the book and how it will serve all areas of your life and the people that you care about. And if you stack up enough reasons for doing it, you'll do it.
I think that's where I'm at. I think, you know, things are coming to me like promoting events, bringing speakers to New York, which I really love.
Well, that's high on your values.
It is.
And so what happens, if that's higher on your values than finishing the book, the second that opportunity comes up, you'll put the book aside to get that done. And you may be thinking, well, that might give me new insights for the book. So you may be wanting to gather information to fulfill that book. But at the same time, you can also delegate part of the book. You can actually sit down in dialogue and have it transcribed and delegate it and have people transcribe it and edit it and help you with the book.
But I think I have another personal problem where I avoid what's also most important to me. Like, you know, I know I'm really procrastinating when I do my laundry, which I hate to do. So it's like that's not high on my values. That's the lowest on my values, doing the dishes, things like that. And there's things that I feel are higher, but yet I do the laundry instead of sitting down.
What's truly valuable is what you'll do.
Really?
And so what'll happen is if you say that, well, it's not important to me, you'll go on to something that really is. If for some reason, I always say that on a quarterly basis, every 3 months, it's wise to stop, do an inventory of what your day consists of. Prioritize that day according to what is most meaningful, powerful, productive, maybe profitable, and delegate the rest to somebody else, so it allows you to get on the things that are most meaningful. Or otherwise, you're going to consistently do things that are lower priority things, and in the process of doing it, because you're holding yourself back by not delegating. And you can only grow as far as you can streamline, prioritize, and delegate.
Delegation is part of the growth and expansion.
I travel the world. I do 4 things. I research, I write, I travel, I speak, I delegate the rest.
Yeah, so you're not busy with business and this and this. If you had to, that's
it would stop me from my inspiration and creativity if I was
Yeah.
having to do the things that are not inspiring to me.
So what I think you're saying to do is reaccess what I value, because and how do you get to the core of what you value?
Well, I have a whole system I call the Demartini method of value determining, but in a nutshell, there's some highlights.
Yeah.
One is look very carefully how you fill your space.
How do I fill my personal
If
space?
I went to your home
Yes.
or your space, business or whatever,
Yeah.
I would bet that there's probably books there. There's research materials there.
That's all that's in my apartment.
Okay, well that would be my suspicion, because that tells me that you love absorbing creative ideas
Yes.
on personal development and
Everything,
human potential and consciousness.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so anything relating to that will probably fill your space.
Absolutely.
So that's an indicator of your values. The second thing is, how do you spend your time? You always have time for the things that are most important to you.
Yeah.
You make it.
Yes.
You'll tend to overlook something to get to do that.
Right.
So you spend time with it. The next is, how do you spend your energy? Now let me give you a little skit here.
Yeah, yeah.
Imagine I have a new girlfriend, because my wife passed away about 2 years
Right.
ago. So I have a new girlfriend. One of her highest values is traveling the world and maintaining her beauty and going, maybe shopping at diamond places. So if she's asleep and it's 11:30, and this is a true experience, 11:30 at night, I go up to her, I said, "Hi, honey, are you going to sleep?" She goes, "Yeah." "You had a long day?" "Yeah." "A little tired?" "Yeah." She says, "Oh, well, didn't know if I would disturb you right now." She says, "Oh, I'm going to sleep, honey." And I said, "Oh, well, she was really just about to fade. I said, "Well, I just want to know if maybe, I bought some tickets to go to Venice, and the flight is a private jet that leaves at 1 a.m. and we're leaving in 2 hours. I didn't know if you'd want to pack and go to Venice and spend a week and shop and have a romantic week in Venice." Up she was, ready to go and shower, clean up, ready to go. So we always have the energy for that which is highest on our value. We'll make the energy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we look at the indicator of that. The next thing is where you spend your money.
Yeah.
Whatever resources come in on a monthly basis, you will automatically prioritize it according to your values and spend according to that.
Right.
And if it's way low on your values, you'll run out of money before it.
Right.
And if it's really high on your values, you'll make sure you spend it.
Right.
And so if a person has on their highest values, children's education, children's health,
Yes.
etc., as the money comes in, if they double their income, they'll just double the quality of the,
That's right.
the stuff.
I buy more books. The more money
You buy more books.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you don't have a value on saving money and building wealth, no matter how much money you make, you won't.
So I'm going to reevaluate. So that's one thing I definitely need to do, is have a value on wealth and having
Well,
money.
until you do, money automatically, just like a person, people go where they're appreciated most and where they're managed most. And so money's the same way. Money automatically flows to whoever appreciates it most and knows how to organize it, manage it, and use it wisely. So if you don't value it, you'll never take the time to do that.
So I value the insights I feel I have understood for writing this book, and the insights I want to bring to the public. I really value that. I really value those insights that I want to present in this book. And yet, it's sitting down and doing it that seems to not happen.
Well, there's so many ways of writing a book, and I've been blessed. I've sat down and cranked on a typewriter. I've actually done it by hand over the years. But I find now that I am sometimes most inspired when I'm speaking.
Yeah.
And so I will stand up and we'll tape record that, and then I'll get the body of my work from that. And it will save me enormous times because it's most creative and inspired when I'm speaking. So I will take that as the body work, and then we'll cut and paste and we'll start working with it. And I find that expedites it and cuts the time way down. And then I can get specialists to come in here and know grammar, because I'm not the grammar specialist.
Right. So there's many ways of achieving what I want. I'm looking at it from one way, you're saying, and you're just telling me to expand the possibilities, how things can be done.
Yeah, and if it's not high on your values, you'll have other things come in. And also, giving yourself a deadline.
Yeah.
I have a person I just consulted with to help him get a book done, and we gave him a deadline to where he was speaking at a conference, and we told him all the benefits of having it done by then and having it published by them, and he's now doing it. And he'd been procrastinating for 3 years because it hadn't been high in his values. Now we made it high enough where he's doing it.
Good. Thank you for that, because I think it's starting to sink in.
Can I share some more
Yes,
on the
please.
values?
Yes.
Okay, so the first one was, how do you fill your space? How do you spend your time? How do you spend your energy? How do you spend your money? I call it the STEM.
Yes.
The next thing is, where are you most disciplined and focused and reliable?
That's
Because that is what's highest on your value. So your discipline, I guarantee you're going to be sitting there reading a book, and if it's a new book and you think it's unconscious and you're going to be reading it, you're going to be cutting edge of it, and you're going to want to interview them probably.
right.
Okay, so look at where you're most disciplined, reliable, and focused. That's a sign of your highest value. The next one is where you're most organized and ordered. Because if you look carefully in your life, you're organized automatically in the areas that are highest value. So you probably know where everything is in your library.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, now, the next thing is, what do you think about most? You're dreaming at night, you got your hands under your head, you're concentrating on it, you're contemplating all these things you've learned about consciousness and trying to sort them through. Your innermost dominant thought has a lot to do with your highest value. The next thing is your internal vision. You visualize a certain outcome. You visualize meeting people, doing dialogues, having them come and speak so you can learn, doing and putting this book out there and touching people's lives. That vision, look at what that is, because that innermost vision is also part of that highest value. The next is your internal dialogue. If you look carefully, you're talking to yourself constantly about things.
Right.
Even if when you're by yourself, you're actually
We all are.
dialoguing.
Yes, of course, yes.
That dialogue, if you could capture that and put it on video and listen to that, it's telling you what's highest on your values. And then if you look at what, in a social setting, a group of people are hanging around at a dinner or something like that, everybody's trying to get the conversation over to what's important to them.
Right.
So if their kids are important, they'll go, how are your kids? If their business is important, they'll go, how's business? Whatever's important to them, they'll move the conversation there. The next two things is, what do you emotionally react to, and what are your goals? And the last one is, what are you most inspired by? Those are the determinants of your values.
How do we fit this personal, this is the last question because it's just about out of time, and these personal values into a kind of cosmic soul experience here on Earth?
Well, a person's spiritual experience is directly congruent with their highest values. So if a person's highest value is building business and building wealth, they will feel that God put them on the planet to do that. Their highest value is raising a family. They'll feel that that's what their God-given mission. Like Rose Kennedy, when she looked at her mission statement, it was, I dedicate my life to raising a family of world leaders.
Wow.
That's her spiritual quest. So our spiritual quest is always the top 4 or 5 of our hierarchy of values. That's what we're dedicated to. That's what we feel we're on the planet to do. Our spirituality is unique, and no one has the right or wrong spirituality. It's all unique, like a fingerprint. And that's what we want to honor, spirituality that's all encompassing of all people on the planet.
That's good. I mean, I got a lot of little pieces here. We're just about out of time, but I'd love for you to come back and do more and go deeper into, because there's so much you're knowledgeable about. And is there anything you want to know that you don't know?
Well, I'm always looking at some cutting edge things on almost every area. I'm always looking for new ways of building business. I'm looking for new ways of cosmology. I mean, I don't know of anything I'm not wanting to explore.
Are you interested in UFOs?
Well, some people think the way I fly around all the time that I'm an unidentified flying object.
No, thank you, Dr. Demartini. John Demartini will be giving a breakthrough intensive in New York, March 18th and 19th, and then also June 9th and 10th of this year, 2007. If you have any interest in doing that, because 2 days of this kind of cutting edge information and personal knowledge has changed people's lives. I'm going to do it. It has changed people's lives that I know, so I highly recommend it, and the books, and drdemartini.com. And thank you for watching. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Alan.
And I look forward to speaking and doing the breakthrough. And
I look forward to it. We're going to have fun time together.
We are. Thank you for watching. This is New Realities. I'm Alan Steinfeld, and if you want to reach me, it's newrealities@earthlink.net. Thank you for watching.